Greetings, dear friends, fellow programmers, and those aspiring to be. I have a question for you. Again, did you ever think about the reason why dependency injection is so important for the application's scalability? Today we will be taking a deep dive into the world of dependency injection and how we can utilize it to make our application both scalable and dynamic. So, if this sounds interesting to you, I invite you to sit back and enjoy the video. In the last video, we had a nice introduction to the world of dependency injection. But if you want to be an exceptional developer that can solve basically everything and to do it with flying colors, you definitely want to sit down and watch this video, because today we will be embracing those basics we covered and extending on them with some of the more advanced use scenarios for dependency injection, which, to be completely honest, I personally would be very happy if I was able to stumble upon when I was getting started with my career. Okay, let's kick things off with a simple refresher of our memory. So in the last video, we covered dependency injection and its basics, and we said that dependency injection is something like a magic toolbox which can give you all the tools or dependencies in code and to give them to you exactly when you need them, and that way allow you to make your code much easier to follow and also modify, extend, update certain implementations completely and switch them with something else, and to do all of those things with ease. Developers often face a lot of challenges when it comes to ensuring that all dependencies that are required by certain class are met if they are not using dependency injection. Because in the last video I explained this on example where we had one class that was dependent on another set of classes, where each of those classes was depending on another layer of classes. So in order to instantiate the one we are interested in, we would have to instantiate basically a gazillion other classes in order to have everything that we need. So all of those issues go away by the introduction of dependency injection. Basically, without the right tools, dependency injection, it's very easy for our application to become a tangled mess that looks like a web of a lot of different dependencies intervening with each other, making it impossible to change anything or to basically debug or update or maintain in general. So that is why we definitely do want to master dependency injection and utilize it as much as possible. And that is exactly the reason why we even have custom solutions like Autofuck and Unity, which are both custom libraries that introduce dependency injection with their own twist on the pattern, and they allow us to use and get some additional features when compared to the base integration we have in our ASP.NET Core language itself. But in my personal experience, ASP.NET Core's dependency injection implementation is perfect in 99.9% of the scenarios. So you will have a lot easier time to utilize this pattern to the max. And now, once again, let me remind you of the core features that dependency injection brings to us when we use it. I'm talking about things like testability, maintainability, scalability, and flexibility. So our code will be much easier to maintain, adapt, and improve in all the areas we're interested in if we're utilizing this simple pattern. I mean, it's not that simple, but let's call it that, because once you understand it fully, it will be a part of your brain and you will always have very easy time to utilize it. And now is the time to go and visit our old friend. I'm talking about, of course, Visual Studio. And here we are. as you can see, we still have basically the same exact scenario as in the previous video. We have our iGreeting service, which has only a single method, that is greet. And inside of a concrete class, we just inherit from this interface and we implement the greet method. This time the text is a bit different, but it does not matter. Now, what else we need to do is to register our service in the program.cs file. So this right here is exactly that. We registered it with transient lifetime. This means, if you remember, that this service is going to be instantiated over and over again every time it is being invoked. So there will be no state keeping, no memory is going to be reserved to store the results and keep some statuses that are being thrown around while using this service. We will instantiate a new instance every time we invoke it, which is great for a stateless service because it will be faster and it will require less hardware in order to work. But what if we do want to keep the states of our service? Enter scoped and singleton lifetimes. So in order to use one of these lifetimes, we would do basically exactly the same thing as we did initially. We would just use add scoped keyword or add singleton keyword. So either of these three keywords is going to work perfectly, but you have to know the differences in their lifetime. So as you remember, scoped services will have their lifetime equal to one request. So as soon as, for example, user that is using our web application is creating a single access to a page, they will have an instance of their service created for them and used all the while they're using that same page. So that is why this is a perfect lifetime for utilizing database-related services. But on the other hand, if you would like to keep the states and be able to use the same identical service instance throughout the entire lifespan of your application, you will want to use singleton lifetime, which is going to, as I mentioned, last throughout the ages. Now, I have a new scenario for you to imagine. Imagine that this greeting service is the core functionality of our very serious production application. And that greeting service needs to be extended to basically allow users to do one of the two things. So basically, we will have two scenarios. The first one is going to be, let's greet our customers in a friendly fashion, and the second one is going to be a formal greeting. So we will create two separate services which are going to both inherit from our iGreeting interface, and then we will have completely different implementations of those two services. And here we are. As you can see right here, we do have two separate implementations with concrete classes that inherit from iGreeting service interface. And they both implement greet method, which just returns a different string. One is friendly, one is more formal. And basically now what we need to do, and where the challenge is going to be, is to implement and register these services in our dependency injection containers. So let's see why this is going to be a bit advanced when compared to previous examples. And now, let me start explaining one line at a time what do we have here. So first, we are just registering two concrete implementations of the iGreeting service interface. So we're just adding transient for friendly and formal greeting. And after that, you can notice that we did not specify the interface here because we just want to teach dependency injection containers that they need to instantiate this concrete class with a transient lifetime. And now we need to implement this, or in our case, explain how the implementation we have here works in order to understand how everything is going to be executed. So we have created a lambda expression, which is going to allow us to use service provider, which we are going to use to chain and actually request instances for the concrete classes when requesting iGreetingService interface instance. And also, we created another parameter which is going to be called key, and it is of type string, which is going to be the string we provided as a parameter while requesting a new instance of iGreetingService interface. So, what we're going to do here is introduce a simple switch statement which is going to check based on the key, and if the key is equal to friendly, then we are going to use our service provider and let it know that we want it to get us a service that is friendly greeting service. So if we pass friendly string, we will get friendly greeting service instance as a result here. On the other hand, if we pass formal, we will get a formal greeting service instance. Of course, in the default scenario where none of these two strings were received, we will throw an exception for key not found. And now, before we run our application, we just need to update the controller so everything works as expected. As you can see here, we updated the private field to be of type function, which has string as input, and iGreetingService as a return type, which is exactly what we defined in our dependency injection containers. And now we inject the value here in constructor, and then we just pass the type provided, and we will get a new service instance, which we can use to invoke greet method on it. We then pass the result to the view. So when I run this code, let's see what we get. Of course, we get an exception, because key not found, we did not provide any type in our view. So let's change that, and here we are. As you can see, we are just invoking the local host, which is our index page, which is the one we are interested in, but we are not passing any parameters to it, and we do need to provide the type. So we will do exactly that. And when I enter the type, which is, for example, equal to formal, we get a formal message. We get, "Good day, Marko. We appreciate your visit." It's so formal. But now if I switch this to friendly, we should get, "Hey there, Marko. Great to see you." So basically, we managed to get both formal and friendly messages out of our application by instantiating different service implementations on demand. This example might seem very simple, but when you take a deeper look, you will see that it can actually do a lot for us. When you expand our view and we take a look at some complex business logic, you will see that it will allow us and our users to dynamically adapt the application and the logic that is going to be instantiated by doing stuff. So they can click a button or enter some text, and that is going to result in completely different application behaviors. And it's all coming out of the box, provided by dependency injection in ASP.NET Core, which is awesome. And now that we covered all that stuff and are going towards becoming a true masters of dependency injection in ASP.NET Core, I think we can do the summarization of today's lesson. If you would like to be an exceptional developer, you do have to embrace this concept, which is why I will pay a lot of attention to it and try to explain it in as much detail, providing different use cases, explanations, situations when you should use different lifetimes, certain functional things like today's implementation where we used function as a service type. And I will try to share as much as I can of the beneficial things I learned along the way. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, because I really enjoyed it myself. And if you did, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel, because a lot of more content like this is coming up. And also, I would like to thank you for watching and wish you an amazing day. And yeah, happy coding!